Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll explain to you the chapter 8 of class 8 biology, disease and first aid. Unit 5, health and hygiene. Chapter 8, diseases and first aid. Class 8. What is the difference between health and disease? Health is defined as the complete physical, mental and social well-being and not merely an absence of disease or infirmity. So by health we mean that the person is in all three categories: mental, social and physical. He is well, his body is functioning well, but you can't say a person healthy if he doesn't have a disease. What is a disease? Disease is a departure from normal health to structural or functional disorders of the body. So disease, when we have a disease, we don't have normal health. So we get fever and other disorders happens in our body. Next, let's come to categories of disease. Disease can be categorized into two parts: the communicable diseases and non-communicable disease. The diseases which spread from an infected person to a healthy person is known as communicable diseases. These diseases are spread by germs or caused by germs known as pathogens. Non-communicable diseases. The diseases which don't spread from an infected person to a healthy person caused due to improper functioning of the body. So, non-communicable disease is a disease which doesn't spread from an infected person to a healthy person. It is caused by improper functioning of the body. Then the examples of communicable diseases will be cholera, tuberculosis and etc. And non-communicable disease will be diabetes, heart attack and etc. Spread of communicable disease. Direct method. Diseases like measles, chickenpox and fungal infections spread to a healthy person through direct contact with the infected person. So in direct method, what happens if a person is having measles, you sit beside that person, you have chances to get that disease. This is known as the direct method. In indirect method, we have three ways of getting that disease: touching and sharing items used by the infected person, the use of same towel, handkerchief or same bed, or sharing the same utensils which were handled by the patient may spread the disease to a healthy person. Contaminated food and water. Many intestinal diseases are spread by the intake of vegetables and fruits that are not washed properly or are washed with contaminated water. The germs on infected vegetables and fruits on reaching our alimentary canal multiply and cause the disease. Next, last, vectors. Vectors are those organisms, example houseflies, mosquitoes, which carry germs from a source of infection but themselves do not get the infection. For example, mosquitoes, while feeding on the blood of malaria patient, gain the germs in their bodies and get them transferred in the bloodstream of a healthy person whom they bite. Houseflies carries germs from garbage or sewage and deposit them on food. A person will get the disease if he eats such contaminated food. Vaccination. What is vaccination? The idea of vaccination was conceived by Edward Jenner. Vaccination is the practice of artificially introducing germs or antibodies. Germs or germ substances which I have written is known as the antibodies into the body for developing resistance to particular diseases. Scientifically, it is called prophylaxis. The material introduced into the body is called the vaccine. So in vaccination, what happens? Our body is introduced to antibodies. These antibodies are proteins which recognize antigens of a disease. Antigens are the disease causing germs. So once we get the antibodies in our body, then we have the ability to fight the antigens of a particular disease. When we take a vaccine of TB vaccine, suppose we take a TB vaccine for typhoid, so we can fight the antigens of typhoid now as we have antibodies of typhoid. Now, you have heard from your parents, from teachers, that once you get chicken pox, you may or may not have it again. Chicken pox generally occurs once in a lifetime. Why? Because once you have chicken pox, the germs of the chicken pox make a memory cell in your body. Now that memory cell is stored in your brain. So again, when the germs of the chicken pox enter your body, that memory cell recognizes the germs and produces antibodies to kill the germ. That's why once you have chicken pox, you don't have it. For other diseases, it's not the same case. Now, how a vaccine works. When the vaccine is injected in the body, it stimulates the WBCs. Now, WBCs and RBCs are parts of blood. Not only these two, WBC, RBC, lymph and plasma, all of these are parts of blood. So, when the vaccine is injected in the body, it stimulates the WBCs to produce antibodies against germs for that particular disease. Now I told you that same thing. Once the vaccine is in your body, so you can produce antibodies against that particular disease. Now, what is an antibody? An antibody is the proteins that recognize and bind to antigens. So, antibodies are proteins which recognize the antigens and fight against them. We get fever when those antibodies fight the antigens of a disease. But fever is not a disease itself. So, when antibodies fight the antigens of another disease, we get fever. But fever is not a disease itself. Now, there are some methods of preparing vaccines. There are 4 methods in your syllabus. I'll discuss only them. Using killed germs. Example, TAB vaccine for typhoid, SARS vaccine for poliomyelitis, and the vaccine for rabies dog bite. Then using living weakened germs. The living germs are treated in such a way that they become very weak, and as such they cannot cause the disease. They can induce antibody formation in the body. Example, the vaccine for measles and the freeze-dried VCG vaccine for tuberculosis. Using fully virulent living germs. Virulent means living, and which has the power of causing disease. Example, the vaccine for smallpox. In this vaccination, a person is inoculated with cowpox virus, which is very similar to smallpox virus. Now, the concept behind this is, in 1749, a person called Louis Pasteur experimented this. He saw that milkmaids, once they got cowpox, they didn't get smallpox. So what happened? He experimented his ideas on a 8-year-old boy. He injected that 8-year-old boy with cowpox virus. As it would happen, the boy developed some pustules and then he recovered. After that, he also injected the boy with smallpox virus. But that boy did not get smallpox virus. Then what happens? This proves that once you get cowpox, you don't get smallpox. But now we don't have to take a vaccine for smallpox, as it has already been eradicated from India. Using toxoids. They are vaccines used for diphtheria and tetanus. The toxoids are extracts of toxins secreted by bacteria, and these poisons are made harmless by the addition of formalin to retain the capacity to produce antibodies or antitoxins. Both are same. Now, what's the difference between toxin and toxoid? Toxin is the poison secreted by bacteria. It is very harmful and can cause many harmful diseases. And toxoid is the diluted toxin. The toxin is made diluted by adding formalin, a chemical. Formalin is the chemical. So we add formalin to the toxin to make it dilute. Once we add formalin to the toxin, it is called toxoid. Toxoid is not harmful. It is used for making vaccine. And it also retains the ability of producing antibodies. Now, what is immunization? Immunization is an artificial way of achieving protection from infections by the introduction of dead or weakened germs into one's body. Immunization is the process of making an individual resistant to a particular disease with the help of vaccination. Example, Pulse polio program is trying to eradicate polio from India. So now you are seeing this immunization, and first we learned vaccination. So what's the difference between vaccination and immunization? Now vaccination gives you almost permanent protection from that disease, but immunization gives you resistance from that disease. Means it's not permanent. You just get a resistance, means you will not have, and vaccine gives you protection. So the full process of vaccination and you becoming resistant is known as immunization. Now let's come to first aid. By the name we can already understand the first aid is the immediate care or help given to a person in times of medical emergency before he or she is taken to a doctor. Okay, let's discuss some first aid for the following. Now burns. Burns, what is the first aid for burns? In case of superficial burns, pour cold water over the burnt area, then dry that portion and cover with sterile dressing. In the case of deep burns, never use water and cover the injured part with dressing. In case of chemical burns due to acid and other chemicals, wash with running water for 10 minutes and then cover with dressing. Next, bleeding. Bleeding. In the case of bleeding, brace the affected part to minimize the gravitational flow of blood. Wash the cut surface with clean water. Press the area with a piece of clean cotton, wool, and if possible, apply some mild antiseptic. Fractures. In the case of fracture, lay the victim comfortably and loosen or remove the clothes from the affected part. Do not move the fractured part or parts. If the fractured part is an arm, tie a sling to rest the arm on it. Next, unconsciousness. If someone falls unconscious, immediately lay the person comfortably on the bed. Loosen the clothes, let fresh air come into room. Then swallowing poison. This is a very important first aid to know. In case someone swallows poison, then there is only one first aid. That is, make him swallow a lot of salt water. Because if you make him swallow a lot of salt water, he will feel like vomiting. And if he vomits, the poison will come out automatically. This is a very important first aid to know. Snake bite. In the case of snake bite, immediately squeeze out some blood from the wound and tie it tightly with a tourniquet. A tourniquet is, we call it tourniquet, but you can tie it with a cloth piece also. So we are tying this so that it prevents the spread of the poison from the affected area to other parts of the body, and that the damage is less. Next, sting. In the case of a sting by a bee or a wasp, pull out the sting if still in the wound and squeeze out some blood to force out the venom. Apply some alkali like baking soda on that spot. Fever. When you feel body ache, cold and your body temperature is more than 98.6 Fahrenheit, it indicates that you are suffering from fever. Fever is not a disease, but it is a symptom of some disease. In case of high fever, you can immediately apply an ice pack or a piece of cloth dipped in ice cold water on the forehead of the patient to bring down the body temperature. If the fever persists for more time, consult a doctor immediately. If anything falls in the eyes, do not rub them. Wash them gently with clean water. These are some bad habits to be avoided. Means we have to stop consuming tobacco. Smoking and chewing tobacco or tobacco products increase the risk of lung cancer, heart attack and high blood pressure. Cough and irritation in the throat is also common among smokers. Even non-smokers sitting with active smokers may suffer from such diseases. This is known as passive smoking. Harmful effects of drinking alcohol. Alcohol is a slow poison which affects the mental and physical processes of the body. Alcohol may cause damage to the nervous system, blood vessels, the kidneys, and the stomach. Excess alcohol causes damage to the liver and gets stored in the form of fat. Alcohol drinking impairs judgment and reduces self-control. It also affects muscular coordination of the body, resulting in accidents. Stop consuming narcotic drugs or simply drugs. Drugs which cause an insensible condition in human beings are called narcotic drugs or psychotropic drugs. Example, morphine, cocaine, heroin, and opium. Such drugs cause serious damage to the nervous system and other organs of the body. They also cause respiratory diseases and heart problems. Due to the habitual use of drugs, addicts find it hard to give up on drugs easily and suffer from variety of health problems and even early death. So drugs, alcohol and tobacco both result in ultimately in death. So these three things are too harmful for our body. If we have to maintain our own healthy hygiene, then we should avoid these three. Important full forms you need to know. First, PPIP. Full form is Pulse Polio Immunization Program. 2. TAB. Typhoid, paratyphoid A and B. 3. DPT. Diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus. 4. MMR. Measles, mumps, rubella. 5. TT. Tetanus toxoid. 6. BCG. Bacillus of Calmette-Guerin. 7. OPV. Oral polio vaccine. 8. AIDS. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. 9. HIV. Human immunodeficiency virus. These are some viral diseases and what causes them. First one are influenza caused by virus. Second one, measles caused by virus. Third one, malaria. Malaria is caused by protozoa and that protozoan is called Plasmodium. Plasmodium is a scientific name. You need to follow the rules of scientific names. If you don't know, I'll tell you the rules. The rules are the scientific name if of one word, then underline the scientific name and write SP dot after it. If the scientific name is of two words, suppose suppose Lactobacillus bulgaricus, then underline Lactobacillus and bulgaricus separately. Lactobacillus L should be capital, bulgaricus B should be small letter, and then a full stop. These rules, if not followed, then scientific names you will get wrong. Dengue, Aedes aegypti mosquito, again a scientific name. Chikungunya, the same vector. 6 is AIDS. AIDS is a very important disease. It's caused by HIV infection. Droplet infection. Now, what is droplet infection? Many viral and bacterial diseases of the respiratory tract are transmitted through droplets suspended in air. Suppose when a tuberculosis patient coughs or sneezes, the germs pass into the air and remain suspended for some time, and if a healthy person inhales the air, then that person gets the disease. Important term. An important term in this disease chapter is public hygiene. What is public hygiene? Public hygiene is public hygiene is as important as personal hygiene. It involves proper disposal of human excreta and domestic waste. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe and share, and bye. Till that, meet you in my next video.